Greetings, it is I, Susie Q, working with Kundalini Awakening. And I think that was one of my first videos on YouTube. And it was really kind of epic. I had a great person that was helping me with the recording and beautiful music and all of that. And it was really a strong sense of telling my story, so all of those energies that I had back then have now receded in a way. I don't really feel those energies anymore, but back in maybe 2017 we did a recording and I was talking about all of these stories, about what happened to me, what was going on. And so a lot of these things that we're kind of looking at, sometimes you could say, what do I really need to do now? What else can I explore? And what the heck is going on with cosmology with me? All of that was a really great place to just kind of share some thoughts and some impressions. And during that recording, it was just, I went into an incredible flow state. It was just so specifically engaged with some of the things that happened to me back in probably like 2015. 2015 is when everything kind of happened, right? And so all of these things that we're noticing is that we look at time in a way. I call it the Iman, the eternal moment of now. And then I just kind of access that things are not exactly going into the next piece, the next piece, the next piece, but basically what I'm looking at is multidimensionality. You could say that I'm in a dream state now, I'm in lucid state, or I'm accessing knowledge from my own Akashic Records in my dream state. All of that has been really extraordinary for me to explore, to understand. For a while, I wasn't really sure exactly what was going on with me. When you start kind of going into a Kundalini awakening, things start kind of falling away. Some of your structures are falling away, or some of your thoughts are falling away. And then all of a sudden you become into like a kind of a chaotic energy. And that's what kind of happened with me back in 2015. And it's been a process, for me to kind of share some of this material. And again, like I said, this was the first Kundalini awakening video. It was my first in my YouTube channel. So it was pretty extraordinary. So when we start looking at some of these experiences back in 2015, there was a lot of it was a rough patch back in 2015. From the first day of 2015, everything started kind of, exploding or imploding. All of that energy was already situated for me to go into a different vibe, right? But back then I couldn't even process. I had so many gifts back then in 2015. I could hear, I could kind of notice what people are doing. Was very, very psychic. And eventually I had a good friend, Christy Ruiz, back in Houston, and she just said, listen, you're definitely dialed in. She said, you're definitely dialed in, and but you don't have to do it all the time. You could do it on a Tuesday and Thursday between 1 or 2 hours a day on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and just let that be. But that was a process for me because everything was like always kind of humming in my field. And so, but Christy Ruiz was a great teacher, and she was helping me to kind of understand about how I can be okay with my gifts, and we don't have to be on all the time, So when I used to go to the grocery store, I could hear everybody's voices. I could hear all these different, states of weirdness or craziness, or maybe good stuff, I don't know. But it was kind of a rough patch back in 2015. I had a lot of people helping me when I was kind of going through these processes. I know I'm talking about this all the time, right? But it was so epic when you're working with a Kundalini awakening or some ascension, things might be happening. But I'm just really kind of like looking back in time and just acknowledging all of the people that were supporting me back in 2015. And I had a great group, energy workers, back in Houston, South Houston. And we had so much fun and we had so much pleasure and joy to understand a little bit more about what each of us are, what are we really doing? What are we doing with the energy group? And so I really I kind of miss those folks back in Houston. Even my networking group, all of that was really kind of fun. But overall, I've been really noticing for myself that I really I miss people. I miss some of my friends. I'm up here in sunny Scottsdale. It's a really nice place, and we're right here by the Papago Buttes. All these red rocks are everywhere. And I'm just kind of like acknowledging the people that were part of me when I was in that Kundalini awakening or in 2015. And there were so many gifts and so many things that were showing up. And there was a couple of other experiences like I might share. I think I've done a video with this one too. But I was driving into Houston, and I was going to get some files or something from the courthouse. And then I just went in there, and then I parked, and then I went right back to my car. And all of a sudden I figured out that I couldn't really back out because there were cars going in all the time. I couldn't even figure out how I could even get out of that situation. I just parked there, and cars were going back and forth and everything. And then all of a sudden I had this beautiful divine man, kind of like a homeless guy, right? And he was kind of he just was kind of in my aura field. I could kind of feel that energy of that person. And he quietly said that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. But this was this homeless man, right? And so, and again, as I was a real estate broker. I had a lot of deals going on. I was on the phone and everything, and I kept looking towards him, and eventually I could see him again. And he just started saying, just, come back here, so let's get you out of here. And so eventually, when I recognized that all those cars were going, and then he eventually, there was no cars, at some point there were no other cars, and then I could back out and go into the street. And then he just kept, just kind of saying, come on, let's just go. And so it was really kind of a sweet gesture of somebody or some kind of being that was supporting me and helping me. Sometimes you could say it's Jesus, it's Yeshua, it could be anything else, but that was extraordinarily interesting back in that time, of 2015. And then I had another time where I had a reconnection with Eric Pearl. I had a great lady that came in, and I got a lot of wisdom, and I had a lot of beings that I could actually, with my eyes closed, I wasn't sleeping and I wasn't meditating, I was just aware, but I could see 8 different beings in that same space. And so and eventually they were kind of touching me and doing things mostly with my gut and some with my hand here. There were 3 on both sides, and there was one at my crown and there was one at my feet. And that's what was happening there, and it was just so extraordinary. Even though I was kind of in some level of a state of consciousness, I could actually see what they look like. And they really didn't have arms, but they were all the same. They were kind of like apparatuses, they were doing the exact same thing, and they were supporting me. And that was the kind of a lot of that started when that Kundalini awakening was beginning to help me to get more understanding about that. So a lot of it was about the electric things within my body, the electromagnetic things in my body, all of these things that were working. I started to working with energy, more different level of energy from Eric Pearl. And it was really kind of an extraordinary experience for me to be on that, massage table and come up. And I said, well, so they were holding me all the time. They were touching me all the time, but they didn't have any hands. they had no hands. Right. And then I said, there was this one being behind me with my crown was holding me the whole time, and they didn't have arms, So I mean, what is that, So you start getting you really kind of extraordinary experiences, and you kind of want to share it a little bit. And it's not about a big deal or anything, but I think each one of us have had some experiences that are kind of mystic or strange or uplifting. A lot of these things are uplifting. But when I started, going back into the reconnection, I've just been working a lot with my own electrical centers, and it's been my privilege and my joy to share some of these sentiments. I've done some of these videos before, but I really love to connect and share what you're up to. What are you up to? What are you creating? What do you want in your field? And what else is happening for you right now? Is there any? Do you need any support? Do you need any ways of accessing newer ways of being? Is there anything else that you need to do with meditation or with your relationships or with your body or with your manifestation or miracles or good stuff, right? All of that innate intelligence was coming through a lot with those 8 beings. I could feel that energy, and the energy is always with me. And I haven't really focused too much on it because it's been a long time. It's like maybe like in 2015, that kind of late in 2015 is when that happened. And I love and embrace sharing this material. I love to get a little bit more guidance for other people to know that there's other ways, there's other options that you can do. Maybe you want to go into it, start writing a book or doing a little bit of canvas, painting on a canvas, or a little bit of sketching, or maybe you love to cook, or maybe you love to. I go out every morning. I'm doing maybe 13,000 steps a day. And that's kind of my art, because I can go down and see people and, look at the dogs and, smile at everybody. I wave at everybody. Even if they're not waving at me, I'm still like, hey, I'm here, I love sharing that kind of energy because it's just so beautiful when we're together, all together, and connecting with one another in a beautiful way. So I think this is it for now. We'll see you soon. And namaste.